Thank you very much for your time. Okay, it is a pleasure for me to come here and present the work that we are doing here. So today, first of all, I would like to make a disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. So if you want a financial advice, you should go to a professional financial advisor. So this presentation is only about presenting a work, a work in progress. So let's go to the next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay. Every currency is a medium of exchange. So in every currency, you have two things, the medium, and the second thing is the exchange. Please, the next slide. So in any currency, we will define in the coming slide. You will see two aspects. The creation is also called the emission. That is, the currency is brought into existence. And the next aspect is the exchange, how the currency changes ownership. Next slide, please. The exchange part of a currency also can be divided into two steps. The verification step and the actual transaction step. So in fact, every currency you see in the world has three parts: the creation part, the verification part, and finally the transaction part. Next slide, please. Please, next slide. The oldest currency known to mankind is gold, at least to some extent. Gold is created through mining. Then the verification is done through a chemical process called the acid test. And finally, the transaction of gold is done through the exchange of gold units, usually in the form of coins. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Recently, at least since 1974, came into existence the fiat money. The fiat money is a currency that is not backed by anything, neither by gold, by silver, or anything. It's just a currency that is printed by a central bank. The verification is done through bank accounts. That is the balance. And finally, the transaction is done by updating the ledger of the bank. Please, next slide, please. So before cryptocurrency, there were some form of digital currency already in existence. One of them was and still is the mobile airtime. The mobile airtime that we use almost every day is a form of digital money. It is created by the mobile provider. In Cameroon, it is created by MTN, Orange, and so on. The verification phase is done through by checking the balance of the subscribers in the databases. Please, and the transaction is done, of course, through the mobile phone call. Next slide, please. Hello. Please, I just want to say that my internet connection is not very stable. So at some point you might see some kind of disturbances. So cryptocurrency came into the market for money, and cryptocurrency are created through a computer process that is called hashing. That is a bunch of computer data is scrambled, and in the end we get a fixed number of digits. That is called hashing. The verification phase in cryptocurrency is done through digital signature. So if you want to make Bitcoin transactions, for example, the first thing you have to do is to get a wallet. That is, you have to have a digital identity. The last phase, the transaction in cryptocurrency, is done by updating the blockchain. The blockchain is a kind of database. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. The blockchain is a kind of database. If you have any knowledge of computer systems, databases in computer systems are like Excel worksheets. Normal databases in computer systems, you can add, you can remove, you can update, you can do whatever you want. But the blockchain is a specific computer database where you can only add at the end. That means you cannot delete, you cannot update, you can only add. And more precisely, you can only add new blocks at the end. That means if you want to remove or update any block in the middle of the blockchain, you will destroy the blockchain. That is why the blockchain is so secure, because if you destroy it, then everybody loses. So the blockchain, as long as it exists, it is authentic, it is sure, it tells the truth. Next slide, please. Please. Next slide. Okay. Cryptocurrencies, therefore, have many advantages over other currencies like the fiat money or gold. Cryptocurrencies are decentralized. Nobody controls them. They are anonymous. The digital wallets are only bits, no identity. So everybody is anonymous. And finally, cryptocurrencies are secure. They are safe because every transaction is verified through a cryptographic process that is mathematically correct. So it cannot be false. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. However, cryptocurrencies have proven in the last 10 years to have many problems. The first thing is that cryptocurrency has been used mostly by a criminal organizations to commit crimes like hiring hitmen or drugs or some doing some terrorist things. The second most important flaw in cryptocurrencies is that they don't have a mechanism to prevent market manipulation. For example, in last year, Elon Musk took it to his Twitter account and announced that Tesla is going to accept Bitcoin as a means of payment. The same day the Bitcoin value doubled. A day later, that is the next day, the same guy, Elon Musk, came out and said, no more. We are not going to accept a Bitcoin anymore. And the Bitcoin value dropped to almost a third of its value. That is a pump and dump scheme, and that is dangerous. That's why in financial markets, you have the Security and Exchange Commission that is there to prevent it. But unfortunately, Bitcoin is not protected. Bitcoin is not a financial asset that is protected by the Security and Exchange Commission. The last thing is that cryptocurrencies are highly volatile. As you saw in that chart, you saw that is the daily changes in Bitcoin to dollar value for about 5 months. You can see that for the month of April, the Bitcoin value dropped in volatility to almost 50%. That is in 1 month. In 1 month, Bitcoin lost almost half of its value. For normal people, for the average men and women, that is not acceptable. Normal people make a plan for the home, for the family, and having such a currency that can change its value by half in just 1 week or even 1 month, it is not acceptable as a currency. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide. Hello. Okay. Thank you. So that's not even everything that we said previously are just symptoms. These are not the real problem. The real disease, the real problem that current cryptocurrencies are suffering is the fact that they are imitating gold. The chart that you are seeing is a chart that shows how Bitcoin is mimicking the price of gold. That is, the price of Bitcoin is mimicking the price of gold. Of course, Bitcoin enthusiasts will see this chart as a good thing. Oh my goodness. Hello? Bitcoin enthusiasts will see this chart as something good, but in fact it's bad. Why? Next slide, please. Please, next slide. Next, okay. Why is Bitcoin becoming a digital gold bad? It is bad because gold is scarce. Gold is rare. And if Bitcoin becomes a form of digital gold, it is not something good because scarcity provokes in human beings a constant reaction, that is greed. And greed forces people to hoard. If there's not enough food, people will go to supermarkets and they will hoard everything. They will hoard food, they will hoard drinks, everything, so that they can make sure that the family will be safe. This is a natural behavior. As such, you cannot have a currency that is rare. You cannot have a currency that is scarce. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next, okay. So if pinning Bitcoin on gold is a bad thing, what other resource, what other physical material we can have to back a digital currency? What resource do you have that is abundant? What resource do you have that is that is speculation free. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. That resource is called unskilled labor. There is about 1.5 billion people that are working unskilled jobs. And unskilled labor, like any labor, it is protected by law. Slavery is abolished. So you can no more speculate on labor. Labor is protected by human rights. So labor is the best resource on which to base a currency. Next slide, please. Next slide. This is how we came with the idea of NEBUCOIN. NEBUCOIN, unlike Bitcoin, is a digital currency that is aimed to mimic unskilled labor. The word Nebu comes from gold in ancient Egypt, and the logo of NEBUCOIN was taken as the African boat, because the boat in Africa, in Cameroon, in Douala, is very important because water is the source of life in Africa. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. How do we do that? Simple. In NEBUCOIN, the user base is divided in two groups. First, you have the miners. Miners are people who value the work less than the value of one NEBUCOIN. And traders are the ones who value the work higher than the price of one NEBUCOIN. Next slide, please. So traders, they value the work. That is at least they perceive that the value of the work is higher than the current value of a NEBUCOIN. So they spend the time doing what they do. That is producing something. But miners, they value the work less than the value of a NEBUCOIN. So they spend the time mining NEBUCOIN using the mobile phone. So miners, after mining the coin, they sell it to the traders. The traders use those coins for the common businesses, that is trading, remittance payments, online payments, any kind of job. Next slide, please. Next slide. So by design, since NEBUCOIN was designed to mimic the labor, that is more to be more precise, the unskilled labor. The mining of one NEBUCOIN lasts around 12 hours. Unlike Bitcoin, the mining of one Bitcoin is 10 minutes, max 10 minutes. The problem is that currently the mining of Bitcoin has been taken over by supercomputers. That is computers that are powered by nuclear stations. Bitcoin consumed about 200 gigawatts in 2020. 200, the mining of Bitcoin cost to the world 200 gigawatts in just 1 year. With NEBUCOIN, we say no. The mining is restricted exclusively to mobile phones. And using your mobile phone, if you think it is worth it, it will cost you 12 hours. So now you understand why NEBUCOIN, the mining of NEBUCOIN, can only be done by unskilled labor people. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Therefore, NEBUCOIN is protected against market manipulation. If you try, like Elon Musk, to go to your Twitter account and say that, okay, Tesla is going to accept NEBUCOIN, it will do nothing to the value of NEBUCOIN, because the value of NEBUCOIN is only affected by the value of labor, nothing else. The other advantage of NEBUCOIN is that NEBUCOIN allows offline transactions, because in Africa, internet penetration is very, very low. As you can see now, my own internet connection is bad. I am in Gaundere, one of the main towns, but I have a very bad connection. Internet is bad in Africa. That is why we designed NEBUCOIN to be able to work offline without internet connection. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. Since NEBUCOIN is restricted to mobile phones, it is eco-friendly. As I told you, Bitcoin on average consumes about 200 gigawatts a year. NEBUCOIN will consume at most 100 times less, because mobile phones are microcomputers. Of course, we have within NEBUCOIN specific technology to check that the mining is done on mobile phones, and we are working every day to improve those checks. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, thank you very much for your time. If you are interested about the project, please contact us by email. You can also visit our website, nebucoin.org, for some updates. Okay, thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please, I'll be pleased to answer them.